There is something almost every parrot owner does, instinctively, affectionately, with nothing but love in their heart, that their parrot experiences in a way they would be deeply uncomfortable knowing about. It happens during quiet evenings on the couch. It happens during bonding sessions that feel warm and reciprocal. It happens in the moments that owners most associate with closeness and affection, when they reach out to stroke their bird's back, run their fingers along its wings, scratch down its tail feathers. These are the moments that feel most like love. And for many parrots, they are quietly, biologically problematic in ways that their owners have no idea about. This is not about intent. Every owner who pets their parrot this way does it because they care. The problem is not the love. The problem is the biology, specifically the way parrot bodies respond to certain types of touch in ways that were never designed for domestic life, and the consequences that follow when that biology is activated repeatedly, daily, without the owner ever realizing what they're triggering. The consequences are not subtle. They include chronic hormonal overstimulation, behavioral changes that owners spend years trying to understand, physical health problems that shorten lifespans, and a specific kind of psychological suffering that is entirely invisible but entirely real. But here is what makes this worth watching. These consequences are completely preventable. The adjustment required is small. The knowledge required is straightforward. And once you understand what is actually happening when you pet your parrot in certain ways, you will know exactly what to change, and your bird's quality of life will be genuinely, measurably better for it. That is what this video is about. Not to make you feel guilty about what you did not know, but to make sure that from today forward, you do. 1. Why certain touch triggers a hormonal response. To understand why petting matters so much, you need to understand something fundamental about parrot social biology, something that most pet owners are never told when they bring a bird home. In the wild, parrots engage in a specific social behavior called allopreening, the mutual grooming of feathers between two birds. Allopreening is not random. It is not performed between all flock members indiscriminately. It is a behavior reserved almost exclusively for bonded pairs, mated partners who have formed a long-term reproductive bond and who maintain that bond through daily physical contact. Here is what makes this critical. The areas of the body that bonded pairs preen for each other are specific. Head feathers, neck feathers, the areas around the ears and along the jaw. These are the regions that a parrot cannot reach itself with its own beak, the areas that genuinely require another bird's assistance and therefore serve as the clearest possible signal of pair bond intimacy. The back, wings, and tail are different. These are areas a parrot can manage independently. They are not typically the focus of bonded pair preening, and neurologically, touch to these areas, extended, stroking touch, activates a different response entirely. It activates reproductive arousal, because in the context of wild parrot biology, extended physical contact in these body regions signals mating behavior, not social bonding. When you stroke your parrot's back, you are not, from your perspective, doing anything sexual. You are petting your bird the way you would pet a dog or a cat. But your parrot's nervous system does not know that. Its biology responds to the touch stimulus the way it was evolutionarily programmed to respond, with a hormonal cascade that primes the reproductive system. Done occasionally, this produces minimal lasting effect. Done daily, repeatedly, during every bonding session, the hormonal system stays in a state of chronic activation. And a chronically hormonally activated parrot is a parrot heading toward a range of serious problems that most owners will not connect to the petting that caused them. 2. The physical consequences of chronic hormonal overstimulation. Most parrot owners are aware, in a general way, that hormonal seasons exist, that birds get a bit more territorial and unpredictable in spring, that this is normal, that it passes. What most owners do not realize is that certain petting habits can keep a parrot in a state of chronic hormonal activation that effectively turns every day into a hormonal season, with all the physical consequences that entails. In female parrots, chronic hormonal overstimulation is directly linked to one of the most serious and common health crises in captive birds, chronic egg laying. A hen that is chronically hormonally stimulated by inappropriate touch, by perceived pair bond formation with her owner, by environmental factors that mimic breeding conditions, may begin laying eggs in the absence of a mate. This sounds harmless. It is not. Each egg a female parrot produces requires a significant draw on the body's calcium reserves. Chronic egg laying depletes calcium at a rate the body cannot sustain, leading to metabolic bone disease, egg binding, a life-threatening condition in which an egg becomes stuck in the reproductive tract, hypocalcemia affecting the nervous system and muscle function, and reproductive tract inflammation and infection. These are not rare edge cases. They are among the most common reasons female parrots are presented to avian veterinarians, and inappropriate petting is one of their most significant preventable causes. In male parrots, chronic hormonal overstimulation manifests differently, but is equally consequential. Elevated testosterone levels produce chronic territorial aggression, increased bite frequency and intensity, feather-destructive behavior driven by frustration and arousal, and in some species an increased risk of testicular tumors with prolonged hormonal dysregulation. In both sexes, the chronic activation of the stress and arousal axis that accompanies hormonal overstimulation suppresses immune function, increases inflammatory markers, and has been linked to reduced lifespan in captive parrots. This is the biology your petting habits are affecting, and it is completely within your power to change. 3. The behavioral consequences nobody warns you about. The physical consequences of chronic hormonal overstimulation are serious. The behavioral consequences are in many ways even more disruptive, because they're the ones that most directly damage the human-parrot relationship, and because they're almost universally misattributed to personality, training failures, or the bird simply being difficult. A parrot that is chronically hormonally activated will almost always develop one or more of the following behavioral patterns. And in almost every case, the owner will have no idea that their petting habits are the driving cause. Increased aggression, particularly toward people or animals that approach the parrot's perceived mate, which in a domestic context is almost always the owner who provides the most physical contact. The parrot has formed a pair bond with you, hormonally speaking. It will defend that bond with the intensity a wild bird would bring to defending its actual mate. Anyone who comes near you becomes a threat. Screaming and contact calling that intensifies dramatically when the perceived mate is not visible. A pair-bonded parrot experiences the separation from its bonded partner, you, as a genuine reproductive emergency. The calls it produces during your absence are not attention-seeking in the casual behavioral sense. They are the desperate contact calls of a bird whose pair bond has been temporarily broken. This is why the screaming does not respond to behavior modification in the way a simple attention-seeking behavior would, because it is not attention-seeking. It is pair bond anxiety, chronic frustration, and the displacement behaviors that come with it. A parrot that is in a constant state of hormonal arousal directed at an owner who cannot reciprocate the reproductive bond in the way a true mate would. Feather-destructive behavior, stereotypic movements, redirected aggression. All of these can be driven by this fundamental mismatch between the hormonal state the petting creates and the reality of the domestic relationship. The solution to all of these behavioral problems is not behavioral modification. It is addressing the hormonal root cause. And the most direct way to address that root cause is changing where and how you touch your parrot.